What's up, everybody? Welcome once again to Some Idiot Reads, where I'm Cy, I'm some idiot, and I'm going to read some stuff. We are once again diving back into the work of the irreplaceable Coyote Wallace. I honestly can't remember what I actually used before for the adjective for you, Coyote. I'm really sorry for that. I know it was awesome, but I think it was awesome. I don't think we ever actually talked about it, but I had an adjective, and then I lost it. It was going to be alliterative with a C, and if you have an alliterative adjective that you can throw out that expresses how awesome Coyote is, please toss that into the comment section. Give the video a like. Also, make sure you go on over to Coyote's Medium page here. Link will be in the description. Give him a follow. Do you really need me to point it out? I will. It might take me a second. I'm cleaning my glasses. But it's over on the right side of the page, directly underneath where it has his icon. Right over here, right there. See? Give him a follow. Wait, can you see that? Yes, you can see that. Give him a follow. Anyway, we are going to be continuing with the reading. Jesus Christ. Okay, peeking out there. I hope that didn't screw entirely up. Apologies. We'll just roll with it. Sorry. We're going to be continuing with some of the reading of his dispatches from Appalachia. Now, at this exact moment, as of July 7th, the frick was that? Okay. Not July 7th, Jesus. As of July 10th, we don't have a new one out there yet, but there's plenty more for me to go ahead and go back through on his back catalog. So, in the interest of that, we are going to go back into one from, right after the turn of the year. The Killing Lie, the blood-soaked myth of deregulation in Appalachia. And we are starting this one off Why has this only got 4 claps? I ask, if you watch this video, please pause it right now, go over, open this up, go to this article, give it a clap. Okay? Right there. See that? Bam. Like that. Go over, do that right now. Why has this only got 5? I'm sad, guys. Please, do that for me. Do it for Coyote. Do it for... I don't want to say do it for America. We've got some... We got some bad stuff going on. Do it to be a good person. But anyway, alright. We're going to start out with this very evocative Coyote. That is a look. The mountains of Appalachia, among the oldest ranges on Earth, have stood for around 500 million years. Their story, woven with the coal buried deep within and the people tasked with extracting it, stretches across the breadth of history itself. These people, their struggles, and their lives reflect the vast and intricate tapestry of America. Their battles, even today, resonate with working-class communities everywhere who strive for a better life for themselves and their families. We have known cold, hunger, and the sharp edge of the bullet and blade. Our history is etched on UMWA headstones in forgotten graveyards, written in the blood of working men and women who fought for fair treatment and the right for their children to live free from servitude. Generations of Appalachians have paid the ultimate price for these hard-won victories. We waged wars on battlefields the rest of the country has been taught to forget. Places like Blair Mountain, Bad Breathitt County, Bloody Harlan, Holly Grove, and countless others. The hills still echo with the cries of 10,000 Union miners from all walks of life, men and women of all races, religions, and creeds, who rose up, drove out the gun thugs, killed the scabs, and burned company stores to the ground. Follows a picture, U.S. soldiers firing on coal miners from a fixed position. We danced in the ashes of our oppressors' fine homes, singing hymns of praise when the Almighty declared himself for the Appalachian coal miner by smiting Black Death No. 5, the infamous bomber used to attack us, from the sky with a thunderbolt that killed the entire crew. We wrote songs about our intention to hang crooked sheriffs from the tallest sour apple tree in Logan County. We showed the gun thugs, the mine operators, and the crooked politicians bought by King Coal's deep pockets, that no matter how they struck at us, whether they bombed us, burned our homes, shot us, or beat us, we would not bow to the king of the black dust in our lungs. Not for one goddamn day more. I am Coyote Wallace. The reader is some idiot. Sigh. Sup. And this is the Dispatches from Appalachia. Today, we examine the killing lie, the blood-soaked myth of deregulation in Appalachia. Strap in. It's about to get hotter than a burning coal seam. Follows a picture, old women at work, hauling coal. The days of old. Once upon a time, in the land of kudzu and pit ponies, there was a mighty king. He came to Appalachia in 1750, when Thomas Walker discovered that black mineral beneath his feet could heat his campfire. The future king of Appalachia was pleased with this discovery, and by 1820, the first commercial mines had opened in the western coal fields of Muhlenberg County. Delighted by how these mines fed his coffers, the king turned his gaze eastward. In 1850, he opened mines in Betsy Lane, Kentucky, less than 5 miles from where I live today. Pictured, a mine. Presumably that one. But the king found a problem. Much of the land that sat above the coal he craved was already owned. Mountaineers who had turned their backs on civilization. Communities formed by runaway indentured servants during the Revolutionary War. Indigenous Appalachian peoples like the Melungeons, camps of travelers, and Romany groups in southern Virginia all stood in his way. Yet the claims of men rarely withstand the desires of kings. Broad-form deeds, threats of murder, swindling, trickery, and outright theft became the king's tools. The people of the mountains, unaware of the true nature of the beast they faced, often found themselves outmaneuvered and dispossessed. No laws restricted the king's expansion. No rules curbed his boundless appetite for coal and profit. Over time, the people of Appalachia adapted to life in his shadow. They were joined by others, people of color seeking a better life than what they had known in the Deep South, and immigrants from Wales, Ireland, Germany, Italy, and every corner of the globe, all drawn to Appalachia by the king's relentless call. Be you freedman, immigrant, or native son, you will dig the black coal from the earth until the day you die, the king proclaimed. And so, we did his bidding. We did it better than any people on earth before or since. From the moment the first lump of black gold was pulled from Appalachian soil to this very day, nearly 9.85 billion, with a B, tons of coal have been extracted from Kentucky's ground alone. King Coal was most pleased with his serfs, who filled his pockets while filling their lungs with dust. But they yearned for something more, a better life. Pictured, miners. All walks of life means all walks of life. Where God's sun don't shine, and the fires burn forever. To grasp the depths of King Coal's greed, one must first understand the nature of the world's most dangerous job and the sheer bravery it takes to walk beneath a mountain. There are many perilous professions, but few come with the near certainty of doom that coal mining once did. Even before medical experts identified silicosis, known here as black lung, the miners themselves, through bitter observation, understood the cost of serving their king to feed their families. Pictured, mine. While the U.S. government busied itself robbing Native Americans of their land, Brigham Young seized Utah, and the cowboy faced the harsh realities of barbed wire, the people of Appalachia were learning a grim truth. Coal mining claimed a man's life, in one way or another, within a decade. If he wasn't crushed by collapse, consumed by fire, poisoned by gas pockets, or lost forever in the lightless hell beneath the mountains, he would eventually begin to strangle in open air. The miners were the first to fight back against the unseen killer, even before they knew its name. They tied bandanas over their faces, hoping to keep the choking dust at bay. But the dust followed them home, clinging to their clothes, their hair, their skin. Even babies, who had never set foot in a mine, coughed up black slurry while nursing at their mother's breasts. Pictured, X-ray of a miner's chest showing the presence of coal dust. Ironically, the first safety measure wasn't born out of concern for the workers, but to protect the profits of King Coal. Mine owners began wetting the mines, spraying water over shafts and work surfaces to suppress the ever-present dust. This wasn't done to safeguard the miners' lungs, but to prevent explosions or fires that could halt the production and eat into profits. Yet greed has a particular logic, and often the cost of wetting the mines was deemed greater than the price of replacing dead or disabled men. When a miner's body failed him, he and his family were unceremoniously evicted from company property. Turned away from the only community they'd known, their fate was left to the wilderness and the unforgiving temperament of the Appalachian Mountains. Pictured, results of a coal seam fire in Pennsylvania. Corners were cut at every opportunity. Mine operators frequently skimped on the quality of materials, using inferior, untreated wood for roof supports. High-quality beams could hold the weight of a mountain for years, but the cheap timber snapped, popped, and splintered under the crushing mass above. Ask any miner even today, and they'll tell you about the low, hellish groan a mountain lets out when it shifts above your head. A sound that reminds you, no matter how hard you pray, that a mile beneath the dirt, God doesn't give a damn. King Coal, like his brother, King Cotton, soon realized that the most efficient way to cut costs and maximize profits was to treat human beings like machines, or beasts of burden. Among his most heinous practices was the conscription of young Appalachian children into the grim labor of mining coal. Child labor was widespread across the world, but in Appalachia, the deaths of child workers became so commonplace that mine owners simply stopped bothering to record them. Pictured, child workers. A tradition among old-time coal miners, and a reason the miner's name is stitched into their clothing today, was the issuing of metal tags to every worker for identification in the case of death. Yet no such tags were given to children. Their deaths were so frequent, so expected, that crafting tags for them was considered a waste of resources. The names of these young laborers weren't even written on chalkboards outside of mines. To this day, it's impossible to accurately count how many children died working as breaker boys, sorting coal, or as coal shooters, crawling through the narrow shafts with blasting caps held between their teeth. The horror of King Coal's exploitation reached such grotesque extremes that in 1891, the federal government was compelled to act. It passed the first, and for over 30 years the only, legislation addressing coal mining abuses, a ban on sending children under the age of 12 to die underground. Pictured, a lot of guns. Preparations made to greet protesting miners by soldiers and gun thugs. But the cruelty extended far beyond the lives of the men and children who went into the mines. King Coal discovered an even more profitable scheme. He simply wouldn't pay us. By the late 19th century, Americans were still seething over the legacy of slavery, and the idea of working a man without pay, and killing him if he refused, was viewed as the domain of King Cotton. But King Coal was far shrewder than his southern sibling. He devised a system that would circumvent the outcry of abolitionists while maintaining the same oppressive control. He paid miners in scrip, a form of company-issued currency that could only be spent at the company store. Food, clothing, tools, and even small luxuries were sold at marked-up prices, ensuring that most miners stayed perpetually in debt to their employer. Pictured, mining scrip. Coyote used to play with those as a child. To enforce this feudal arrangement, coal camps became gated, closed communities. Armed mine security patrolled the perimeter, instructed to shoot anyone who attempted to enter or leave without permission. One sec. Okay. Early union organizers had to sneak into the camps under the cover of darkness, risking their lives to speak with miners about their rights. And the restrictions didn't end there. Speaking non-English languages was banned in the camps to prevent secretive discussions about unionization. Folk remedies and herbal treatments, traditions passed down by Appalachian mountaineers and indigenous peoples, were outlawed on company property. The coal operators insisted that all medicine and supplies be purchased exclusively from the company store. Pictured, families waiting on the company store to open. Of all the abuses and atrocities heaped upon the Appalachian people, there was one that would prove to be the straw that broke the pit pony's back. The governments of West Virginia, Kentucky, and other coal-rich Appalachian states had been bought outright by King Coal, their officials serving as little more than puppets on gilded strings. Under the influence of the coal barons, these states granted the Baldwin Felts Detective Agency, King Coal's hired killers, sweeping, unchecked powers. Pictured, deputized gun thugs who never left Appalachia. These enforcers could shoot a man in cold blood without consequence, haul him to jail on fabricated charges, and terrorize his wife and children in their own home with threats of death and destitution. The corrupt governors justified these heinous acts by claiming that unionization posed an existential threat to the American way of life and its industries. In truth, the only thing they sought to protect was the steady flow of profits into King Coal's coffers. No man, woman, or child who calls themselves an American should accept living under the boot of those who starve them, strip them of their culture, and condemn them to slow, agonizing deaths, all in the name of greed. It was time for a change. Pictured, gun thugs posing with a mine operator to celebrate the quote-unquote victory of murdering Appalachians. For the UMWA, till our dying day. The intolerable state being forced upon the Appalachian people by King Coal's tyranny could not stand. For every effort made by the mine owners, operators, and their hired killers to silence the Appalachian people's cries for a better life, 10 more rose to defy them. From the gentle hills of Floyd County to the way stations of Zebulon, from the deep pits of Pennsylvania to the deadly drift mines of West Virginia, a fierce stirring ignited in the hearts of the proud mountain folk. Pictured. Protesters. Fuck yeah. They had seen, with their own eyes, the death, destruction, and mayhem wrought upon them by King Cole. Their ears had been filled with his lies, even as the bellies of their children remained empty. They had watched as the gun thugs openly proclaimed their lies to be worth less than the pit ponies that hauled coal-laden carts to the surface. Women and children had been gunned down, babies crushed beneath boot heels, languages stolen, and even Catholicism, the faith of many immigrant miners, banned outright as King Cole demanded undivided loyalty. Under this weight, the Appalachian people developed an unshakable protectiveness for one another. Forced to live in close quarters and united by a common enemy, the miners' shared struggle melted the boundaries between them. There's an old saying, passed down through generations in these mountains: all men are the same color underground. Pictured, again, miners, 40 years before the Civil Rights Movement. The Appalachians knew we were all brothers beneath the mountain. King Cole's attempts to divide the miners through racism began to falter. When black miners from Alabama and Georgia were brought in to replace striking white miners, and when white miners from the north were brought down to supplant striking black miners, the Appalachian people refused to take the bait. Many of their communities were already integrated, and loyalty in Appalachia had never been defined by skin color or origin. If you were a scab, you were no man at all, regardless of your reasons or circumstances. A scab stole food from the coal miners' children, and in the eyes of the Union man, nothing else about you mattered. Not your skin, your language, your God, or the boat that brought you here. A scab was a scab, and such men were turned back by any means necessary. Ambushes were laid, railroad tracks dynamited, and, yes, scabs of all races and creeds were put in the ground for their betrayal of the miners' cause. Appalachia knew no division save one: the Union man and the scab. As the call for unionization grew louder, demanding an end to the horrific conditions imposed by King Cole, the mine operators, the mine owners, responded with greater fury. Their brutal pushback would lead to a critical misstep in Logan, West Virginia, the home of Appalachia's two-gun saint, Sid Hatfield. Sid Hatfield was the chief of police in Logan, West Virginia, and when the coal operators sought to set up machine gun nests to intimidate strikers, he refused. This act of defiance drew the ire of Albert Feltz, who decided to assert his authority by marching into Logan with the intent of evicting a large number of miners and their families from their homes on a cold, rainy November morning. In the brutal Appalachian winter, such evictions would mean certain death for the miners and their children. As a sworn officer of the law, Sid Hatfield was expected to aid the gun thugs in carrying out their heartless task. But Sid Hatfield was an Appalachian. He worked in the mines as a boy. And, importantly, Sid Hatfield was a human being, not a motherless scab driven only by greed. So, Sid Hatfield refused. This act of defiance led to a rolling gunfight that lives on in Appalachian legend as the Logan Massacre. Against all odds, Sid Hatfield emerged victorious, killing Albert Feltz, the leader of the Baldwin Feltz Detective Agency, and saving the lives of the miners he had sworn to protect. A lawman by title, Hatfield chose to be an outlaw in spirit, risking his own life rather than spend another day under the boot of men who had filled the land with graves of wives, children, brothers, sisters, and fathers. At his trial, Hatfield walked into the courthouse without his famous pistols. Outside, on the courthouse steps, he was gunned down by hired gun thugs. His wife begged them to spare his life after he'd already been shot 7 times in the chest. Ignoring her pleas, they stood over his fallen body and fired into his face so that no one in Appalachia could look upon him in death. The murderers walked away in broad daylight. No charges were filed, no justice was sought. And at that moment, true rebellion began. A rumble stirred in the hearts of the people of Bad Breathitt County. A roar began to rise in the throats of the people of Bloody Harlan. Generations of righteous anger, forged by lifetimes of abuse and mistreatment, surged through the veins of the people of Holly Grove. A yearning for a better tomorrow, one they knew many of them would never live to see, but were willing to die for, ignited in the very souls of the Appalachian people. They had worked us like dogs, starved us like starved us like we were less than men. Don't know what happened to my brain on that. Oh, I read the next one. They had violated our wives and enslaved our children, all in service to the profits of wealthy men. But when King Cole decided to lay low Appalachia's saint of the pistol, that was the final straw. The Coal Wars began, and they would rage on and off for years to come. These were not mere skirmishes, but battles fought as fiercely as any traditional war. The coal companies unleashed horrors upon the miners and their families. Water-cooled machine guns, poison gas banned in international warfare, high-powered explosives dropped from airplanes, lynchings, and the dynamiting of homes. These methods hammered against the miners' relentless demand for a better tomorrow, leaving devastation in their wake. But the miners did not relent. They retaliated with equal fury. They seized trains laden with weapons to arm themselves, raided company stores to feed striking families, and sabotaged mining equipment in unaffiliated camps, halting the coal operators' profits. The UMWA's demands were as simple as they were true. There would be no more gun thugs. There would be no more closed camps that held men as they might hold prisoners. And there would be no more evictions from the miners' homes for simply belonging to the Union. The struggle was long, the fights many, and progress was sometimes impeded by the greed of men and the corruptive nature of power. Yet the gun thugs turned away, and the freedom of the Appalachian people was, in part at least, restored to its proper ownership. No more children would die in the mines. No more gun thugs would beat down our doors. No expecting mothers would be kicked to death in the streets because their husbands believed in unions. And no more would King Cole keep us under the martial law of a land whose government had betrayed them for the sake of a few coins. However, it was not until 1969 that the Federal Mine Health and Safety Act was passed that required mine owners to provide respirators for coal miners, that the dust must be sprayed with water, that showers must be provided so that the coal miner does not have to take the toxic dust home with him to be breathed in by his children when they hug his neck. Now, we sit in an era where rich men once more tell us that the problem is regulations forced upon them by the government. We live in a time where the rich, so comfortable are they in our passivity, believe that we should have to suffer tainted water and polluted air, that there should be no laws or limits, save for those crafted by the wealthy to protect the interest of the wealthy. I would suggest such men go ask King Cole and the gun thugs where that path shall lead them, and see in our desire to have these regulations not a slight against them, but a protection of their very necks. For if you deregulate, you leave up to the workers to push for regulation in their own way, And I can promise every wealthy carpetbagger from here to hell and back, there's fire in these mountains, old son. Solidarity forever. That's a good one. I enjoyed the hell out of that. That was excellent. What we got? Got one comment. Oh yeah. Let's see. There we go. Toss that comment in. You should do that too. Go in. If you liked this article, give it a comment. Give it some notice. Give it a clap. At the very least, give it the clap. No, wait, don't give it the clap. Give it a clap. Make sure, again, that you are following Coyote right here. I got a link to his Medium page. It is in the description of every single one of these Dispatch from Appalachia videos. Also, right here on it, this little hand icon, that will take you where you can go to his Ko-Fi and give him a tip. I will also have a link to that directly in the video. If you can spare doing so, it isn't going to hurt you. Go ahead and toss him a tip, man. Even $1. Do what you can for that. But, you know, at the very barest minimum, go give this a nice little bit of applause. Spread this for other people. Make it well known. He deserves the friggin' attention for it. Because, damn, is he writing some good shit. And 6 months fucking later, I mean, not that it actually would have, you know, gotten any less, even if we weren't living in a current political hellscape. But going 6 months, 7 months, 7 months, 6 months later, still 100% true and no fucking signs of slowing the fuck down. I'm not going to advocate publicly that anyone should do any particular sort of thing, other than stand against this kind of bullshit that costs people their lives. Be it coal mining, and its more overt brethren of coal mining, steel mill operation, general industrial labor that is all too often does not have regulation pursued to it, or that's just skipped because people need money and need to live. Or if it's, you know, the slow grinding away that I myself experienced working in an office environment. It's nowhere near as physically damaging, but it is mentally eroding and leaves deep scars. Whatever it is, you're a human being. You're worth more than that. Stand against it. Like the man said, solidarity forever. And like I normally say, deuces.